4.01 committee report.
Anybody have a committee report tonight?
Can we have a finance committee meeting on November 14th? Is that the next board meeting? The auditors will be here that day, so if we can do the finance meeting before that,
What time?
4:30.
Oh, me.
So November 14th at 4:30?
Somebody can let Ron know.
Any other committee reports tonight?
Motion.
I have a motion by Mrs. Tulien, support by Mr. Honeycutt, that we accept the committee reports as presented. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. Next item.
5.01 MASP Annual Leadership Conference. Mrs. Stoney, Mr. Hancock, Mr. Myers, and Mr. Miller.
Mr. Myers is not going. Sorry.
Motion. As amended.
Support is amended.
I have a motion by Mrs. Stellini, support by Mr. Zorn. Do we have a cost on this?
I was talking with Mr. Williams, I'm sorry, during your assistant superintendent report, but there's no total amount that we're actually voting on for this. Do you know what the total is? No, we don't.
I have a motion by Mrs. Stellini, support by Mr. Zorn. Any discussion? All in favor?
Well, I was just going to say it's for the registration fee for the conference and the CBA classes, and it's in Detroit, so there's no traveling cost, hotel, or food.
Anything else?
I'm terribly sorry, I can't make it. I wanted to so bad.
So we can vote on it with the amount that was proposed or sent to MASB to be told to the board at the next board meeting. There's a line item in the budget for it.
The maximum it could be, I think, for 2 days, if you went to all sessions for both days, was $383 a person. But if you were doing one day, it was like $180 or $90 a session, depending on who was going to what.
There's a pre-conference institute that's
Right.
$180, and then CBA classes that are 3 hours long that are $90 a piece. So we just need to get a total and see if Mr. Miller is indeed going also.
Well, have we had to send money already? We don't send any money until.
Normally the check of the day out is what I
Actually, no, there's a PO process. She needs to call. And when I saw Cheryl Huffman from NASB was with Jennifer Smith Thursday night, I just sort of let her know, because she handles the registration, that we were voting on this Monday night and that you would be calling her. So, I mean, they take walk-ins up to the day, but they might have some courses in some sections that are closed for, people that have already registered.
Yeah, there must have been a late registration last time, so I recall took the check with us.
They made special arrangements for us.
So somebody's going to take care of organizing, getting whatever we're doing with this.
Kim, you've been gathering the feedback from each board member, so we can amend that. You've got everybody else's information, and then amend that with Doug's absence.
So 3 are scheduled to go, is what we're saying.
I don't want to speak for Mr. Miller, but when we talked about this at the last meeting, he had to check with his work schedule, I think, is what he said, but I don't know. So I don't know that it's more positive that he's going.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Requires a roll call.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Miller's excused. Mrs. Delaney?
Yes.
Mr. Zorn votes yes. Mr. Riley?
Votes no. That passes 5-1. Next item, please.
Uh, 6.01, request to hire L. Vote.
Motion. Support.
Motion by Mr. Masters, support by Mr. Honeycutt, that we accept the request to hire. Any discussion on this?
So we're still hiring categorical people?
They're struggling to find candidates to fill those positions for at-risk students. So these were just found most recently.
And this is for 90 days at $175 per day?
Correct.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. Next item.
6.02, request to hire S. Hernandez, Eureka Heights.
Motion.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Honeycutt, support by Mr. Zorn, that we approve the request to hire. This is Sean Hernandez as well. For the same for schools. Any discussion on that?
I do have a comment on that. A couple of weeks ago, the board did approve 2 requests for hires, and they were at 2 different schools, and the gentleman's name was Ryan Vivian. John had asked the question. Well, we have a teacher who went on a medical, so we had to recall Ryan, and so Sean is basically just filling that position, filling those 2 positions. And the reason that he's doing he's doing something similar, but it's in 2 different buildings, because we cannot find somebody to work the 2 or 3 days a week that is required. So, HR was just trying to think out of the box on how could we get somebody to do what needs to be done for the students.
Well, this says salary 90 days at $175 per day, but then it says the first half of the school year, he's doing 3 days at Eureka Heights and 2 days at Kenyon, and then he's switching 2 days at Eureka Heights and 3 days at Kenyon. Is that, how can we do that for 90 days?
Well, actually, I don't know.
There's 2 contracts. It's just I had the contract.
6.02 and 6.03. I understand that. That's how I wanted them to understand. So, one really is for 90 days at Eureka Heights, and the other one is for 90 days at Kenyon to last the whole year. So it'll end up being 180 days, but he's only going to service Kenyon for 90 days, and he'll service Eureka Heights for the other 90 days. And he'll alternate 3 days, 1 week at Eureka Heights, and the other 2 days that he's not working at Eureka Heights, he'll work at Kenyon. And then the next week, he'll switch. So that's how it ends up being 90 and 90.
You mean,
Right.
he'll switch at the half year. That's what it says here.
And it could very well be, but he can only work 90 days
Correct.
total for Kenyon and 90 days
Correct.
total for the yes.
So it'll be a Tuesday, Thursday schedule, I'm sure, up until February-ish. And then a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule thereafter.
Okay, any other discussion on that? We have a motion by Mr. Honeycutt and a support by Mr. Zorn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. Next item.
Other half of that, we just discussed, 6.03, request to hire Hernandez at Kenyon.
Motion.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Honeycutt, support by Mr. Zorn, that we accept the request to hire. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Next item.
7.01, personnel reports.
Motion?
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Delaney, support by Mr. Masters, that we accept the personnel report as printed. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. Next item.
6.01, closed session.
I don't think we have one, do we? No closed session. Next item.
6.01, possible action to adjourn closed session.
Be none. Next item.
10.01, other one.
Um, Under other one, we do, somebody would like to make a motion about the bus or the... Who made that? Anthony Cut made the motion, Mrs. Tellini made the support. Made the support that we allow the bus to be used if needed. Any discussion on that?
It's for the city's winter fest.
Excuse me, Ms. Delaney, it's not, you don't know if it's the winter festival distribution of toys in December. It'll be one of the two.
How about we just say it'll be to do something with toys for the children? Will that work?
Virgil,
Okay.
Well, could we give approval if it's needed for both? If it's needed for both, just in case he needs it for both, can we give that?
he doesn't need it.
I've written it as approval to use a bus for Winterfest / toys.
Okay.
You gonna hang antlers on it?
Okay. All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Honeycutt and support by Mrs. Stelling that we let them use a bus. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. Does anyone have any other ones? Okay.
Motion to close?
I have a motion by Mr. Zorn, support by Mrs. Stellini that we close other one. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. Next item, please.
11.01 adjournment.
Motion.
You missed that last week.
I have a motion by Mr. Mimes and a support by Mr. Masters that we adjourn. You know, last week we were sitting here waiting to adjourn. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 6-0. We will adjourn at 7:04.